Hello and welcome to the top 10 largest empires the world has ever seen. Here I will rank them from smallest to largest and learn how big some of these empires really were. The sizes of some of them might even shock you. Spanning around 3.47 million square miles, the Xiongnu were a confederation of nomadic tribes north of China, feared by the mighty Han dynasty. The Han built large stretches of the Great Wall specifically to keep them out. Known for their lightning-fast cavalry, they could move entire armies across the open steppe with frightening speed. Eventually, internal disputes and pressure from other nomads fractured their empire. 9. Yuan dynasty 4.25 million square mile. Kublai Khan's Yuan dynasty was the Mongol answer to ruling China, blending nomadic traditions with Chinese bureaucratic systems. The empire encouraged trade and cultural exchange, welcoming visitors like Marco Polo and introducing paper currency on a grand scale. But inflation, floods, and rebellions eroded its strength, paving the way for the Ming to reclaim the mandate of heaven.
Umayyad Caliphate was one of history's most expansive and influential empires. Founded in 661 CE after the assassination of Caliph Ali, it established its capital in Damascus and oversaw one of the fastest territorial expansions ever recorded. At its height, the empire stretched from the Iberian Peninsula in the west, covering much of modern Spain and Portugal, through North Africa, across the Middle East, and into Central Asia. This vast realm was unified by a centralized administration, a standardized coinage, and the widespread adoption of the Arabic language. The Umayyads were more than conquerors, they were cultural synthesizers. They absorbed Greek philosophy, Persian governance traditions, and Indian mathematics, blending them into a legacy that would influence Europe's intellectual revival centuries later. But such power was not without challenge. Internal dissent and rival factions, most notably the Abbasids, eroded their authority. In 750 CE, the Abbasids seized control of the Eastern Empire, yet the Umayyad line survived in Al-Andalus, continuing to shape art, architecture, and science for generations. The Umayyad Caliphate remains a striking example of how swiftly an empire can rise, how far it can spread, and how enduring its cultural imprint can be. Number 7. The Abbasid Caliphate. Emerging in 750 CE after overthrowing the Umayyads, the Abbasids shifted the Islamic world's capital to Baghdad, a city that would become the jewel of the medieval world. From this vibrant center, trade routes linked the empire to China, India, Africa, and Europe, bringing wealth and a constant exchange of ideas. Baghdad's famed House of Wisdom attracted scholars of every faith, who translated Greek, Persian, and Indian texts into Arabic, preserving and expanding the ancient world's knowledge. Advances in algebra, astronomy, optics, medicine, and geography flourished under their patronage, influencing generations far beyond their borders. Though political control fractured over time, the Abbasid Caliphate's cultural and intellectual achievements became a cornerstone of the Renaissance and left a mark on human history that still resonates today. Number 6. The Second French Colonial Empire. Following Napoleon's downfall and the collapse of France's first colonial empire, a second wave of expansion began in the 1830s with the conquest of Algeria. Over the next century, France extended its reach across North and West Africa, Indochina, Madagascar, the Pacific, and the Caribbean. At its height in the early 20th century, it spanned 13.5 million square kilometers and ruled over millions. This vast empire brought resources, strategic ports, and global influence, but also sparked resistance, revolts, and lasting debates over colonialism's legacy. The Second French Colonial Empire began dissolving after World War II, with waves of decolonization in the 1950s and 60s, leaving behind a complex mix of cultural ties, political tensions, and shared histories. Number 5. The Spanish Empire. From the late 15th century, Spain emerged as one of history's first truly global empires. Following the voyages of Christopher Columbus in 1492, Spanish explorers and conquistadors claimed vast territories in the Americas, Asia, and Africa. At its height, the Spanish Empire stretched across Europe, the Caribbean, North and South America, the Philippines, and parts of the Pacific. Fueled by gold and silver from the New World, Spain became a dominant power in politics, culture, and warfare. The empire spread Christianity, established sprawling trade routes, and built monumental cities from Mexico City to Manila. Yet, wealth came with challenges: economic strain, military conflicts like the 30 Years' War, and resistance from local populations gradually weakened Spanish dominance. Even so, the Spanish Empire left a profound legacy, shaping languages, religion, architecture, and legal systems across multiple continents. Today, its influence is still felt in the 20 countries where Spanish is an official language. Number 4. The Qing Dynasty, ruling China from 1644 to 1912, was the last imperial dynasty. It was established by the Manchu people, who conquered the Ming and expanded China's borders to their largest extent, including Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia, and Taiwan. Under emperors like Kangxi and Qianlong, the Qing presided over a golden age of prosperity, population growth, and cultural achievement. Trade flourished, and Chinese goods like porcelain, tea, and silk became prized worldwide. However, the dynasty faced internal unrest, corruption, and external pressures. The Opium Wars, unequal treaties, and rebellions like the Taiping weakened the state. By 1912, the Qing collapsed, ending over 2,000 years of imperial rule in China. From triumph to downfall, the Qing left an enduring mark on Chinese identity, art, and politics. Number 3. The Russian Empire. From the late 17th century to the 1917 revolution, the Russian Empire grew into the third largest empire in history, spanning 22.8 million square kilometers across Europe, Asia, and North America. Built through conquest, colonization, and diplomacy, it united hundreds of ethnic groups under the rule of the Tsar. It gained power through Siberian expansion, victories against the Ottoman Empire, and influence in Central Asia. Despite immense resources and military strength, the empire faced internal unrest, social inequality, and the strains of World War I. In 1917, revolution toppled the monarchy, paving the way for the Soviet Union. Number 2. The Mongol Empire. Founded in 1206 by Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire became the largest contiguous land empire in history, stretching from Eastern Europe to the Sea of Japan. Known for lightning-fast cavalry, innovative tactics, and ruthless efficiency, the Mongols crushed armies and reshaped nations. Under leaders like Genghis and Kublai Khan, they created vast trade networks, revived the Silk Road, and encouraged cultural exchange. Despite their brutal conquests, they fostered stability in the Pax Mongolica. By the late 14th century, internal divisions and rebellions fractured the empire into smaller khanates, ending its dominance but leaving a lasting legacy on world history. Number 1. The British Empire. At its peak in the early 20th century, the British Empire was the largest empire in human history, stretching across Africa, Asia, the Americas, and the Pacific. It ruled over nearly 1/4 of the world's population and controlled 1/4 of its landmass. The empire's power rested on its unmatched navy, the Industrial Revolution, and an aggressive policy of exploration and colonization. It reshaped global trade routes, spread the English language, and established legal and political systems that still exist today. But the empire's dominance came with a cost: colonial exploitation, resource extraction, and suppression of local cultures fueled deep resentment. 2 world wars, the rise of nationalism, and economic shifts led to a rapid wave of independence movements in the 20th century. Though the empire has long dissolved, its legacy survives in the Commonwealth of Nations, cultural influence, and the global role of the English language.